First this morning, WMBD is your local election headquarters. We are continuing to live track a number of statewide and local races from Tuesday's midterm elections.
And while some races have been called, results are still rolling in across the state.
That's right. This morning, we're keeping a close eye on this race that's just too close to call. That's the U.S. House District 17 with Democratic candidate Eric Sorensen and Republican candidate Esther Joy King. And right now, although Sorensen is just ahead by a few percentage points, he has declared victory over King. He did that around 1 o'clock this morning.
And we're going to take a look at the newly reconfigured U.S. House District 13 race. Democrat Nikki Budzinski will take the seat over Republican Rodney Davis. He was drawn out of the new district, and it now includes parts of Springfield, Decatur, and Champaign-Urbana. Budzinski previously worked in the Biden and Pritzker administrations, and our Capitol Bureau reporter Theodora Koulouvaris was at Budzinski's campaign event last night and has more. Take a look.
The results are in, and you, the voters, have decided to send Democrat Nikki Budzinski to Congress. Throughout the night, Budzinski maintained a narrow lead over her Republican opponent, Regan Deering. Budzinski says she did speak to Deering and that they had a pleasant conversation. And now that she's headed to Capitol Hill, Budzinski said her focus will be on tackling rising costs.
What I mean by that, though, specifically is middle-class tax relief. I think we need to be finding ways for the middle class to help them keep more of what they earn.
Throughout the race, both candidates were divided on a number of issues, from abortion rights to their stances on labor and unions. After redistricting, the Illinois 13th district was drawn to benefit a Democratic candidate, and Republicans had hoped that this seat would have helped them regain the majority in the U.S. House of Representatives.
And we turn now to U.S. House District 14. It surrounds the outer northern and western suburbs of Chicago. The AP is declaring Democratic incumbent Lauren Underwood the winner in this race. If you take a look here at the numbers, 79% of the vote is in. However, Underwood is leading Scott Greider with 54% of the vote, while he just secured 46%.
And the next race we're keeping an eye on is U.S. House District 15, another incumbent winning, this time Republican Mary Miller. The redrawn district is very rural and stretches from Iowa to Indiana through south central Illinois. And as the race stands now with 94% of the votes in, Miller has won with 71% of the vote against Democratic Paul Lange, who only had 29% of those votes.
And moving on to the race for U.S. House District 16, Darren LaHood, a Republican, is the winner in this race. He first took the role back in 2015. This district did include Representative Adam Kinzinger, but Kinzinger did not seek re-election. The numbers here, LaHood securing 66% of the vote with 168,386, and that was over Elizabeth Hatterline.
And we'll move on to the race for State House District 91. The redrawn district includes much of Bloomington Normal, stretching along I-74 over to East Peoria. We have Sharon Chung, who has won 54% of the votes, but that's just with 54% of the 100 total of votes in, and Scott Preston with 46% of those votes.
Now to the race for State House District 92. Democrat Jahan Gordon Booth declared the winner in this race. Now, it is important to note she's the first black woman ever to be elected to represent the central region of the state in the Illinois General Assembly. And you can see her Republican challenger, Benjamin Watt, with just over 11,000 votes.
And let's turn to the U.S. Senate race. This is another race that AP called early in the night. Democratic incumbent Tammy Duckworth takes the seat again. She won the Senate in 2016 and served 2 terms in the U.S. House.
And in the race for State Senate District 46, Democratic incumbent Dave Kaler against Republican Desi Anderson. This redrawn district now covers portions of Peoria, Tazewell, Woodford, and McLean counties along Interstate 74. And here's a look at the results as they stand right now. 71% of the votes are in, with Kaler with 59% of the votes and Desi Anderson with 41% of the votes.
And local Democrats gathered at Raybers in West Peoria as election results were revealed.
Our Demetrius Sanders has more on the mood of Democratic leadership.
The mood of local Democrats is joyous after a strong showing in both local and statewide races following lengthy campaigns. Tuesday, Democratic supporters looked on as Governor J.B. Pritzker won re-election. Locally, 92nd District State Representative Jahan Gordon Booth proving to be victorious, as well as 46th District State Senator Dave Kaler. Here's what both Kaler and Gordon Booth had to say as those results started to come in.
I believe that what we have been able to exhibit is an understanding of what everyday Illinoisans are dealing with and the ability to step into what they're looking for from their leadership.
4 years ago, $16 billion in debt. Today, we have had 6 credit upgrades and we pay our bills on time. That's a pretty tremendous record, and I'll run on that record anytime. So I think that people are generally satisfied. Yeah, we've got inflation, we've got things that we have to get under control. We know that, but look at where we've been and where we are now.
Now, Gordon Booth has held her position in Springfield since 2008, and for Kaler, it's been since 2006. In West Peoria, Demetria Sanders.
We move to McLean County and the race for McLean County Clerk. Incumbent Republican Kathy Michael will take a 4th term in the role. She faced Democrat Laura McBurney.
And in the race for McLean County Treasurer, another Republican taking the seat, 76% voting for Rebecca McNeil. She faced a Libertarian, Charles Sela.
And McLean County voters in the Unit 5 school district were asked to approve a 32.35% increase in the maximum annual educational tax rate. And as you can see here, that did not pass. 54% of voters said no. WMBD does plan to talk to Unit 5 Superintendent about the referendum not passing and what this means moving forward, and we will bring you that coverage later on today.
And Lexington voters are being asked if the city should raise its sales tax rate by 0.5%. That raise passes with 58% approving the increase. The rate will now raise to 1%.
Now let's go now to Fulton County and the race for sheriff. All the votes are in, and Republican John Webb will be the next to take the role. He faced Democrat Ryan Miracle, who only received 45% of the vote.
And Peoria County voters are deciding whether to eliminate the county auditor's office. It looks like 70% of voters, that's over 38,000 people, voted yes, while only 30% voted no.
Now that referendum petition states it would have save taxpayers $150,000 a year, and the current Peoria County auditor is reacting to this decision, and she says, quote, "Thank you to everyone who participated in the electoral process today. Your right to elect an auditor, which is provided for an in-state statute, is what this fight has been about. The battle for your right is not over." And that was from Jessica Thomas, the current Peoria County auditor.
And also in Peoria County, another question some voters saw, it's whether to dissolve the Tuscarora Fire Protection District and consolidate with Timber Hollis Fire Protection District. As you can see, that passed with 63% saying yes. The Tuscarora Fire Department is located just south of Bartonville in rural Peoria County. Only 37% of people voting no.
And Peoria County voters also say yes to turning the responsibility of federal and state redistricting over to an independent citizens commission. Peoria Township members of the Peoria Area Green Party brought the referendum forward, and right now the idea is to show policymakers how Peoria residents feel about the issue of gerrymandering in Illinois.
And we move on to Tazewell County. Voters in Creve Coeur determined if the Park District property tax will have a limitation. As you can see, that limitation did not pass with 51% of the votes voting no. A close race though. 49% voting yes. That's a difference of 523 to 537, extremely close.
And those who live in Metamora School District were asked to determine if members can be voted in at large. As you can see here, that passed with 56% voting yes, 44% voting no.
And in the Germantown Hills School District, voters approved $7 million in building bonds. It's a tight call, though. 24 votes separate the yeses from the nos. In all, just over 3,500 people cast a ballot in this race.
Meanwhile, a referendum to increase the annual tax rate for Germantown Hills schools did not pass. The no's at 60%, only 40% said yes. If it would have passed, it would have been a 30-cent increase per $100 of assessed property.